I found a slider element on the internet, on Twitter particularly. I really liked it, and I decided to recreate it right here. Look at this. I recreated the component. There's the component right here. What was the point of looking at it right now, right? It seems so abstract. I don't see the use. What is a slider? It takes some divisions over some range. Alright, so the range of 0 to 1000 will be divided into 13 parts. How will you do that? I don't know. Maybe I'll show you in this video. It has a width of it. Also, it takes Tailwind classes as styling as well. That's so cool. It takes a label as well. That's cool. And why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this to finally show you this right here. This is my component and it says drag me. So I will listen to my component. I always listen to my components. Let's drag it. Oh, nice. When I start dragging, the cursor changes into a grabbed one. Wow, that's so cool. And then you start dragging. I'm really happy with this component because it took me like 2 days to figure out how to make it. So I hope this will be worth it. So this code right here, it goes in detail a lot over here. And to do this, I recreated my entire component just for a video, just for a YouTube video. And we are going to watch how I recreated this component together. Over here, I'm installing a new Next.js project, including TypeScript, ESLint, and some other things. There's a really nice script on ShardCN's website to install, to start a new Next.js project. It takes care of everything. So right here, that's what I'm doing. And I'm naming it to Slider app because that's what I'm making. Let's skip to the part where everything is done. So let's go into this file and start creating the app, right? So that's what I'm doing here. I'll start the server right now and I'll go to the server. So I'm going to start by deleting all the boilerplate that Next.js gives us. It's pretty simple, honestly. It's nothing to talk about here. I'm just deleting it and I'm going to replace it with a slider component so I can go on and create the slider component, which you just saw right now. I just showed it to you. I'm going to create a new components folder in my source folder now to create my slider component and then import it into my main page component. Now this slider component is going to be a client component. In Next.js 13, you can't use client components with server components in the same file. So you have to import the client component into the server component, which is what I will be doing right now in a few minutes. This is called apparently the island architecture, where server components don't ship any JavaScript at all. And the client components are all the ones that actually ship JavaScript, so you can specify in that stuff over there. I'm going to import Framer Motion because that is what this entire project is based on. It's based on the brilliant API that Framer Motion provides us to create absolutely beautiful components. One note about Framer Motion, it's the hooks that it gives and the values that it gives, it doesn't render with the React cycle. What? Wait, what? A library that works in React doesn't render along with React? That's, what do you mean? It's crazy. I know. I just heard it. I heard it from this guy called Sam Senikov on YouTube. It doesn't run with React cycle. It has its own cycle. So it doesn't affect performance at all. And here's my project that I just showed you. And I'm just doing it again. So why to do this? All right. So now we will start a new journey. We'll begin a new project. Oh, I'm going to import Motion into this new file. The old file was a server component, so you can't do that. That's actually a route in Next.js. You can't import Framer Motion over there because Framer Motion uses hooks, and hooks are not allowed in server components, which is kind of sad, yes, but and now I'm going to start styling my components. First, I'll lay out the entire layout. I just copy pasted the style from my earlier component. You can take a look if you want. It is a relatively styled flexbox. Width has been defined. The background has been defined. The border, the overlay hidden to keep the children inside of it, the group, and the cursor grab. So when you hover over the entire group, the cursors, the children are also affected. Now I'm going to lay out the entire thing, lay down a foundation for our entire component. So it's a main motion.div, another motion.div, inside which there will be another motion.div. This motion.div right here, this one will be, I guess, the main div right here. This is where we will drag the entire, where we are in that div, and this will be invisible. we won't be able to see this. And the third child will have the background of white, will actually be the progress bar. You can give it any color and you can write a good component. You can say, all right, so this is my style prop, and the progress bar should be this color, the background should be this color, the label should be of this style, this font style, things like that. So we are making a pretty robust component right here. It's pretty cool. Now we have the on pan gesture that Framer Motion gives us. If you have developed apps in the past, or on the phone even, you might know what the pan function, pan gesture does. The pan gesture, once you've put down your hand on the phone, for example, till you pick it back up, the pan gesture is recording everything that you're doing, where the finger is on the screen, where it is taking, where you are taking it, how much time it is spending over there. I'm adding React use measure to get the width of the component that I want to get the width of, any component that I want to get the width of. So what I'm doing right here is that I'm taking the on pan gesture and I'm taking the info available along with this pan gesture. So the pan gesture gives us with what speed we are moving, with what where we were in the last instance of this gesture, and where we are right now in compared to the last gesture event that we captured. So every time you move, a new gesture event is captured. So when you're moving this like this, there are infinite events could be captured here, theoretically. Infinite events that could be captured here. But imagine if with time, the phone was capturing the coordinates every 1 nanosecond or something, 1 microsecond, let's say. You would still have a lot of events right there, and that's what is happening right here. It is capturing events one by one, and it's giving me the coordinates of that event, where my finger is in comparison to this box right here, this box. So that's what I'm getting right now. Delta in percent is how much I have moved compared to the last event. Basically how much, and I'm dividing that with the width of the component, so I know that what percentage I have moved my finger based on the width of this. So compared to this, so if I move my finger like this, imagine this cursor is my finger. If this cursor is my finger, if I move it like this is moving for 0.3, 0.3, 0.3%, 0.3%, 0.3%, 0.3%. That's how it's capturing the events if it's capturing it at a X interval of time. I'm going from here to here, 0.3, 0.3, 0.3, 0.3, and each time we can use that 0.3 to change a variable or something. And when we do that, all the 0.3 add up, and we get the percentage that we have moved from the left corner of this, the left edge. It's basically integration, if you know what that is. I'll create a new state variable to hold this information really quick, and I will use motion values as opposed to states. First, I'll tell you what motion values are. First, let's get the bounds and throw our error away. Let's get the bounds from the use measure hook from React use measure. And now we'll have to give this ref to the component that we want the width of. So we are going to give it to the main component because that's whose width we want, so that, we can get how much our gesture has moved in comparison to that particular block. So I can know in percentage on the x-axis how much I have to cover, because progress bars, if you've seen progress bars, they usually go from 0 to 100%. We are not going to do 0. We are going to do the exact same thing. And so apparently we need to refresh it sometimes, I guess. So now we've console logged this data. As you can see right here, if you didn't see, it's just little events. It's just they've moved little, and they all add up, and we can all add them up. So for example, you can see 0.001, 0.0014. That is, that is capturing the events compared to. So that's 0.001 right there. That is 0.1%. 0.007, that is 0.7% that we have moved. That is this one single event. Compared to the last event, we have moved 0.7%. We've moved Over here, we've moved 0.8% again. And if we add up all of these percentages, we will get how much of the total block we've covered as the percentage of this entire block. So when we reach here, we'll have 50% because we've been adding up all the past ones. We reach here 75% and then 100%. So that's how this works. Now we are going to declare a new progress variable, which is going to be a motion value. This is a frame of motion value. This is not a state. This is the state equivalent of a frame of motion in its own cycle, so that it doesn't interfere with the React state. And now we are going to start progress at 0. And we are going to get the width from a use motion template hook. Now the use motion template hook. The thing is, when you console out progress, you will get a big object with a lot of things. You can't just give it as a style to a normal component. It needs to be given you need to use motion template if you want to pass it as a style of a motion div. So if you want to pass progress as a style in the motion div, you can't just put progress directly over here, right here, in the styling right here. So style is progress. No, you can't do that. Style width equals to progress. You can't do that. You have to turn it into a thing that frame of motion understands itself. And then you can do something with it. You can give it to the style. Now we've given it the style of the width. So what is going to happen here is that whenever you pan, it's going to change the progress motion value, which we are going to do right now, as you can see on the screen. We have to change the progress value, which is taking the current value and adding the delta in percent, multiplying it by 100, so we have a full value, 100%, 50%. So that value, that 50%, can be used by the width variable to get use motion template and then put it in use when you give the width to the child right here. And this should work once we refresh it. And it does. As you can see, as I was telling you, it's not just a motion value. If this is the actual motion value, you can't just pass it on as a style because it won't make any sense. Now, let's get the value, the actual value, not the object. And there it is. We're going from 0% to 100%. That's what's happening right here. But we're crossing 100% and we're going in the negative, which is it makes sense, right? Of course we are, because we keep adding negatives to the current value and you're going to end up in the negatives. We are going to create a new clamp function, which is going to limit our values from 0 to 1%. It's from 0 to 1. But our values right now, the progress variable, as you see, we are multiplying it by 100. So we are getting 70%, we are getting 80%. So we are not getting values from 0 to 1. So we have to convert these 80%, 70% to 0.1 and 0. Those things. We can't keep on using the multiplied by 100 version of this app. So we are going to take care of that later, first of all. When our app breaks, it's going to break in a bit. So you will see all my errors as well that I've made during this thing. So I'm going to give clamp this particular input with limits from 0 to 1. So anything above 1 will not be. So 0 to 1. Once we cross the 0 to 1, it's not doing anything because our values are going up till 70. And that's pretty much it. Now we'll have to figure how to fix that. We are going to remove the 100 and now it should start working, hopefully. If I didn't make any other mistakes. Okay, it's still not working. Alright, so it's still 0.1. Yeah, it's still going from 0 to 1, but we are using that 0.1. So over here it's 0.1%, 0.2%, 0.3%. You'll have to convert progress and multiply it by 100 to get the correct values and set the width correctly. Because right now we are setting 0.1%, 0.2%, and we are only sending it to 1%. So 1% is the max right now. So I'm writing some comments to help myself, and I'm going to use the use transform hook, which takes a value and maps it to another range of values, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to make an error again. I can't use hooks in another function, in another hook, which in another function. So I'm going to change that error right here. I'm going to delete it, and now it works. everything works. I'm so happy that this works. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to create use transform to transform the value into a proper percentage that can be used by the slider itself. Now we are going to give it a spring effect. It didn't look that good, I know. It looked very basic. Let's give it a little bounce, a little bit of a bounce. Frame of motion makes it very easy like this. You can just pass motion values to each other and it looks pretty good. You should try it yourself as well. And it's too fast for you to notice right now, but it is what it is. So now we're going to create a range for our slider. From where to where will it go? We're going to get the minimum and the maximum variable out of the range so that we have easy access to those variables. Now we're going to check if the min is greater than the max and throw an error if that is true. That cannot happen because then our slider won't work. Now we are going to add a label and a value. We're going to give them both refs so that we can get hold of their width. You'll know why we want to do that later in a bit. Right here, now we'll change the color. Don't worry about it. We'll get some change of color right here. And now it looks good. It's springing, it's soft, and it's fine. Now we'll add the value variable. Same way, we need to get the width of it as well for some mysterious purpose that I will let you know later. Now we'll store that in a range value state variable so we can display this value to the user that the slider is handling right now. I'm going to create a use effect to keep track of the progress motion value. This is how you do it in frame of motion. You can check out the talks. And when we try to do it this time, this is how it works. Let's animate the presence of each and every element in our tree so that if anything goes out of a mount, if it dismounts, I guess, or comes into existence or mounts itself to the virtual DOM, then we'll know. We'll know what it is. We'll know what it is and we can animate it. It will animate smoothly, basically. What I'm trying to say is animate presence does that. We're going to add a handle thing so that the user knows that is what you grab and go. Although if you don't grab it, it still works, but it's a nice little thing to have. It even changes color based on the location. So when we go there, we also want to tell the user that this is draggable. This is a slider. You can actually drag this thing. I'm going to create a new helper function. I'm going to go into utils and get progress value for step. So the thing is, what I want to tell you mainly, this is the heart and soul of this entire thing. This takes a progress value and checks if it is between two values. For example, if there's a value of 0 to 100, if the value is between 0 and 100 or less than 100, which is, then it defaults to 0. If the value of this progress becomes greater than 100, then it becomes 100. If it's greater than 200, then it becomes 200. That's how this works. This function, that's what this function is doing. This function is taking an array of numbers which we will default to make that snapping effect, to create that snapping effect, that when you move the progress bar, it snaps to the to the values that it can snap to. Basically, that's what I'm saying. And this is the function that does it all. It's pretty simple. I think if you look at it and you've coded before, it shouldn't take you a lot of time to understand this. Now we are going to create an actual progress, which will actually control the width of our white background, which is the progress bar itself, the bar itself. It will be controlled by this particular motion value. Now we are going to create a progress array by another function, as you saw. It's going to create an array from the based on the number of divisions and the range that we give it. So based on the range and the number of divisions, it will divide this range up into the number of divisions that it should be divided into. For example, in this case, 100 to the 0 to 100 range will be divided into a range of 5, I guess, in this case. And there will be things at 20, 40, 60, 80, things like that. And now we are going to change the width to the actual progress. And and now it should snap. The snapping behavior should be pretty, if we have done it. So now we will create this actual progress motion value, and we will set it every time using the function that we created earlier that sets the motion value based on the progress value. This is still changing, as you can see. That is still changing in this clip right here. This right here is the progress variable. We haven't changed it yet. But the width is controlled by the actual progress variable. That is checking every time in a for loop that, all right, this thing is less than this, then you should, if the progress right now at this point is less than 20, then it should default to 0. If it is less than 40, then it should default to 20. If it is less than 50, if 60, then it should default to 40, things like that. That's what's happening right here. So we're going to just pass it directly so that it's easier for us. And the display is still not changing, so we'll change the range value right now. And we'll change it when the actual progress changes, not when the progress changes. Because if the progress changes, it will change every second, every time we make a change. But this will change only when we reach a value that can be snapped to, or we can stop at. So it's pretty similar now to our old button, and we've made the particular changes that we need to be making. Let's create a bigger label so we see what the problem is now. Now the problem is that our handle is blocking our text and value, our label and the value both. So we now, based on the progress, if the progress is, well, taking up the same space as same percentage of space on the left that our label is taking, then we need to hide it. And if our progress is taking up the same the progress is taking the same amount of space on the right, then we need to hide the handlebar. So basically it will be hidden. So for example, I will show you the example right here. Right here, as you can see, right here, it should be hidden because we need to see the label. And then when we come to 0, it comes back to life. But when we go over here on this end, that's why we need the width of each element. That's why we gave them those refs, so we can keep track of their width. We can keep the width, and whenever, now this width, it takes a percentage of space of this entire slider. Let's say 30%. Now when this progress is less than 30%, we need to make the handlebar vanish. The same way, this entire thing, this div right here, it takes some amount of space, right? It takes, let's say 20% of space on this end. When the progress value becomes greater than 80% in this case, we need to again hide the handlebar. And when it becomes 100, we need to show it again. When it becomes 0, we need to show it again. That's what I mean by that. And let's go back to our code. We also need to run this effect again if the width changes of. Now we are creating the handle basically at the end of this thing. So when we reach the end, it should be invisible because of our constraint, where if it is greater than 80%, it should be invisible. But we are making it visible for the one time when we have reached the max value. So that's what we did right there. This line right here, this takes care of the more than 80% part of the equation. This takes care of the start to end 30% of the equation. And if either of these are true, show the drag box. That's both ends are being taken care of. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. We also take care of the starting part, and as you can see, some error is being caused right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe we'll solve it. It's an opacity problem. We'll figure it out right now. the progress bar is not covering the thing should be covering in the beginning, which is always there. It's just covered by the progress bar on top of it. So we need to change the opacity and remove it completely. Let's refresh it. It's not working right now because of some reason. I don't know. We are going to change some colors and it's just going to start working. And our logic starts working as well. I'm just checking with the behavior of my old component, and it's working in the same way that it's supposed to be working. As you can see, it still works. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yes. Now we're going to take care of the other end of the thing, but it is not happening right now because it is not aligned properly. It is on the left, as you can see right there. It's not on the right side. Now it's on the right side. We make some adjustments and let's just out what happens if we give it 10 divisions. It works perfectly. That's great. Huh. Just like my old component, it works perfectly. Now, let's change all our constants. So right now, we are testing with a set of constants that we've created ourselves. All of these things must be taken as a prop, except this progress array, because it is just using the divisions to create new divisions. And that is what we need to do. We need to give the parent control of this element. We need to make it reusable. So that's what we are going to do. I'm going to type everything right here. I'm going to delete everything and get the things that I need to get from the parent this time. I'm not going to rely on local variables anymore. I'm going to get the information prompt to. That's a good word. And I'm going to make the calculations from the parent. And everything is done. And now let's see if it still works. It very much does. It very much does work. And that's pretty much it. Now the thing is, we need to give full control to the parent. We need to get the information that the value that is handling the information right now, the value that is being handled by the child right now should also be able to be used by the parent, right? So we will do something right here. We will pass the slider to the parent and render the parent on the main page. Now we need to give parent the permission to make changes. Something has gone awry and I'm fixing it right now, I guess. Okay. Oh, the background doesn't have any color by itself. That's why this is happening. The background is in black. So I'm going to also start a set panning true. I'm going to create a new panning variable, local state, to keep track of when I'm panning. And based on that, I'm going to also use Tailwind merge to merge my classes. So if it is panning, then the cursor should be grabbing. So this should change to this, as you will see right here. Once we start panning, we should change it to a grabbing cursor, not just a grab cursor. And Tailwind merge will take care of all the conflict classes. Now, we need to worry about this right here. If I tap here, right here, it should come to the closest number, right? It should come to the least, the minimum of both the numbers between which I tap in. So if I tap here, it should come here. If I tap here, it should come to the minimum one. And this is what we're taking care of now. On tap, whenever we tap, we have to change the width based on where the tap is taking place, right? So that's what we're doing right now. We're taking client X. We are calculating the X position with respect to the box itself. We're calculating the new percentage. We're passing it on to our old function to get the closest neighbor that is in the list that we can snap to. And that's what is happening right here. That's what we're doing. And this should start working. And now we'll continue giving the control to the parent. Hopefully, we will change its background first, and then we will realize that there was nothing wrong in the first place and everything works as it should. We'll give it some padding to see where the parent starts and where the child starts. Now, I want to edit the slider component directly from the parent. So now I'll use Tailwind merge again and merge all the classes that I get from the parent with my root component right here. And if I change the classes right here, it should change in the child as well, which is happening right now with some conflicts. I don't know what is happening. I should have refreshed the page right here, and it still doesn't happen. Okay. Okay, the child works, but giving it is causing a conflict. Let's give it another color and check it out. Let's try giving it red. Okay, maybe it was just a temporary problem and it works now for some reason. But yeah, that's basically it. And we're going to also need to give control of our state variable, our local state variable, to our child. And we do it by passing the set value function to our child, so that child can set the values for us. The child can set our values for us instead of us doing that ourselves. So we are going to receive that function very gracefully here, and then we will basically take the value and render it right now. Let's see if we can get that value out of we can control our local value from the child, and that's what we're going to do. And right now we can't, because we are not using the set value inside the child. Let's use it while setting a new value for the range value, which is basically being displayed, and now it should work. Now we can get the access to the value of the child in the parent component, and that's pretty much it. That's the entire video. And thanks for watching. Do the deeds, like, subscribe, I guess. Bye bye.